All right. All right. So some other insider risk, if there's a gap in your audit trail and approval process, you don't check what are the activities that was done. Um, if people have overly broad access, you just give everybody access, elevated access, that's a gap. If there's no sufficient monitoring of your employees or what's going on, that's a big risk. What is the risk? What is the risk of shadow AI? Excellent. All right. Risk assessment best practice, role-based access, make sure you have appropriate roles assigned, constantly review access and recertification every quarter as needed to make sure that the people that have access are the ones that are supposed to have access. Then separation of duty or segregation of duty, you want to make sure no single individual can control an entire AI pipeline in general. So you want to make sure the roles are separated, require multi-person approval for critical changes. If there's a change, make sure the approval is multi-layer, separate development, test, and production environment. So we should have separation of environment. Implement maker checker principle for sensitive operation. Also. So those are some very good practice out there. Privacy risk in large language model, right? So data minimization strategy, never train on sensitive PII, never, because that's a no-no actually. If you do that, you're going to be, it will come out eventually, and that's going to really expose you to potential class action lawsuit as a business. Use synthetic data. Most people use artificial data. Implement federating learning. Train model across distributed data set without centralizing sensitive information in any way. All right, let's see some other. Okay, yeah, got it. Then data protection technique, masking, anonymization, replace identifiers with placeholder before model processing, differential privacy, add control noise to prevent extraction of individual data points, metadata retention, store only aggregate statistic rather than raw training example when possible. Bottom line, just save and capture only what you need. We're not going to use real data. We're using synthetic data to train the model. Once you get into the crosshair of real data, then we are getting our hands into potential trouble. Because if those data are compromised at any point, then it changes the game for us. Now we are dealing with regulatory compliance issue, which nobody wants, right? Data flow mapping for large language model privacy. So you have to think and map it end to end and say, what is the journey map for this data? How is it flowing? What are the potential privacy concerns there? What is the risk hotspot identification? You know, where are the sensitive data concentrated in, or where are they passing through? Then we have to think of control placement, you know. So we have to have technical safeguard to potentially prevent unauthorized access, exfiltration, or manipulation by insider risk also. Consent and transparency practices, of course, there should be ethical collection processes. There should be clear user consent. Um, the users should be able to consent to different aspects of their data usage separately. It should be in plain language. The purpose of the use should be documented. Retention policy, how long it's going to be kept, should be documented. Then withdrawal mechanism, when I choose to leave and revoke my consent, can I do that and do it quick also? All right, quick one. What is the key factor in assessing AI governance? If you are just joining, please feel free. Our pin is 502669. Just pick it up real quick. in the Kahoot. Thank you. Now, winner board. Alfred is not playing. Grace, come in. Abby, Grace, EDD also. Let's go. Okay, awesome. Logging and monitoring. At the end of the day, virtually everything we do, we have to think about how do we monitor and log files, right? Data access, model training, inference, requests and responses, configuration changes or modification. If there is any change made, can we track it? That's it. That's the bottom line. If there are anomaly detection in terms of unusual pattern, off-hour usage, unexpected data export, suspicious parameter modification. So most of the times, your DLP or your analytic tools will pick it up. You might have a reason, but at least we can follow through if we choose to, you know? So that's a big one out there. Deployment controls and approval. When we are pushing in those model, we have to understand, there should be separation of environment, dev, testing, or QC, and production. Then the approval process should be straight. There should be a change management process. Then how we deploy it, there should be controls around deployment also. Training and awareness, still going to be the old faithful training and awareness. In this case, we have to specialize the training around AI security, ethics and reporting, and make it a culture of asking questions around privacy, security, making sure there's bias testing. Those are things you want to make it part of the culture of your environment as you train your model for sure. Secure development and machine learning operation practices. We have to make sure we go through secure coding, appropriate data protection, secure machine learning operations, and monitoring in general. And those foundational fundamentals are going to be the same thing, like encryption, principle of least privilege, security, monitoring, security incident response. It's going to be the same thing we've been talking about, just in this case for AI model. So, but those controls and security concern are the same thing. Third party vendor risk. Yes, if you're a vendor with my AI models or API around my I want to make sure I understand the way you handle my employee access or customer information. How do you deal with compliance? How do you train? Do you have insider threat programs within your own business? If you don't, it's always a concern because it means you're not really proactive on the potential risk that brings to me. So, contractual protection, um, I want to understand your data protection requirement and usage limitation, prohibition on training vendor model with your data, breach notification and timeliness, right to audit, liability provision for insider caused incident. So these are things that are baked into the clause of the contract in general with your third party as a whole. Model export restriction. So this is a little bit, we should think about this a little bit. So if I'm exporting a model, you have to understand what are the limitations of those model. If I'm transferring the monitoring process, what are the things I need to do? If there's a need of encryption, what kind of encryption? Is it strong enough? If I'm doing containerization, do we use secure containers that prevent direct access to those model, you know, and use them on our system with those containers? So those are the things I'm asking. What are the restrictions around it? I don't know. Some of you may not be there when we talked about it earlier on. There are websites now you can actually go and download AI models and you can make enhancements and changes to them. Some of them you can even use them to work offline. Of course, you have to have memory, good memory space. So it means if you are traveling to a location in the world that does not have internet access, you can download those models into your laptop and you can be working there like you're using your chat GPT. You should have a good processing speed though, but yeah, it's existing right now. I'll send that site to you, whether it's Pi. AI also, but some of you have seen me download that.